So what is engagement during learning? Engagement is when our learners are present in the moment that we are teaching. Engagement is when our learners have attention with the intent of application. We achieve these first two when we first establish relevance, when we've taken the time to make sure that we understand what the learner's experience is. But even more importantly, engagement is more than that. It's the willingness to feel positively and passionately about obtaining and applying information. So a lot of achieving engagement is how we choose to teach and how we choose to deliver the information. So let's talk about the common methods that teaching occurs. And let's also talk about how that changes when we empower the adult learner with decisions and choices and why that makes a difference. So I'll use myself as an example. I've been a veterinarian for the past 14, 15 years, and I've tried to teach different subjects in a variety of ways. One of the most common ways when I started out that I would work to teach is by going to the farm and then writing a herd visit report. I would take a lot of time writing down my notes, writing down the action points, and delivering it in a manual that was easy to read and delivered via mail or email to my learners. So what do you think? When I was delivering these herd visit reports to these folks, how much of it did they retain after they read it? 10%. After all that effort, my learners retained 10% of what was in that herd visit report. And I wondered why things weren't applied when I went back, a month later. So another thing that we commonly do as veterinarians is, we get a phone call and we explain how to do something over the phone. I might say, yeah, John, I think you need to put 1 bag of medication per 5 gallons of stock solution and run it for 2 weeks, and let's not forget the withdrawal. There's a 15-day withdrawal. Make sure that happens. Otherwise, we might have a residue in the meat. When I make that phone call with no other follow-up, how much do you think the learners are retaining of that information? 20%. Not very good. Not very good when we're doing something like ensuring food safety. That employee who's on farm and they're able to watch another employee get the job done day in and day out, what do you think is going to override my herd visit report? What do you think is going to override my phone call? If they're seeing someone on farm do something a specific way, how much are they going to learn? More than if they read it or if I talked to them. What they see on farm is going to override that. They retain 30% of that. So how much is a learner going to retain if they see something and hear it as well? In this example, this learner is just watching a video. Do you think that could impact them more? Absolutely. Those learners retain about 50%. So we're getting up there. That's better. That's definitely better. And how much do you think we retain if we have an experience with another person? 70%. Well, we just passed the class, folks. But let's see if we can improve our grade. What happens if we subsequently then go do it ourselves? What if we take what we learned from talking with that other person and go do it ourselves? How much do we retain from that? 80%. But let's get an A, folks. How are we going to get an A and understand this material up at the A level? We have to teach it. And when we do so, we have a 95% level of understanding. William Glasser did this research. Science shows that this is how we should be teaching adults. This is the method of delivery. That they not only need to read it and hear it and see it, they need to discuss it with others. They need to have a personal experience. And if we really want to achieve that high level of learning, they need the anticipation and the drive and the knowledge that they're going to have to teach it to someone else. So let's establish engagement on farm. On farm, we need to teach in a way that involves people, discussion, visual experiences, and hands-on experiences too. And when those are done, each of those folks need to teach someone else so that they truly learn. In an e-learning environment, first and foremost, we must create a connection and be rich in real-life visuals like we see here. We need to use the connection to real life to lead to a decision-based environment that subsequently becomes doing it themselves in the barn and making the decision to do it themselves in the barn. E-learning must be combined with on-farm verification of experiences so that we know that these things are not only in their heads, but it's also able to be carried out in the physical environment. This is especially essential with safety. That's why we combine our e-learning courses with an in-farm assignment that involves manager verification of understanding. And guess what? Once our learners have been certified, perhaps they could be the ones verifying understanding in others. Because what does that make them? A teacher. That's how we achieve the 95% level of understanding, when we make our learners the mentors and teachers on farm. If you're in this lesson, you've been here. Pork Avenue Training Portal has the means to administer all of this, from assignment to tracking learning, to assigning the in-barn verification, to providing the checklist that the manager has to mark off on, so that we understand that the learner gets it, has applied it, is ready to teach it. Thanks for joining us at Pork Avenue Training Portal. Now you know how to engage employees on farm, and in our next lesson on how to teach adults, we'll teach you how to motivate adult learners.